So Andrew Yang spoke to Laura Ingraham on Fox News, and he calmly exposed how vapid she is. She's going to argue against UBI without really even making an argument. She just says, I have this feeling it's bad. And she ultimately ends up talking so much that she contradicts herself. Watch.
I want to read you a statement, hold on, Andrew, that you made just a few weeks ago to Newsweek. You said, when I've talked to Trump voters around the country, they've said that they're disappointed in what they've gotten from the administration. They feel like a lot of it was bluster and hot air. But a recent Goldman Sachs study found that wage growth has picked up sharply. Bottom 50% of wage earners are making more. Consumer confidence is up. Got other metrics up at 71% have since the beginning of polling on confidence in the economy. People think things are going to get better. So this idea that nothing's working with Trump, I just think that's an overstatement at best.
Well, I've been around the country now, and a lot of people don't feel like they're connected to a lot of the statistics that are coming out. And if you remember Donald Trump, the candidate in 2015, he said that a lot of these headline unemployment numbers were misleading and they don't report what's happening on the ground. And then now that he's in the White House, he's singing a very different tune. The experience I'm having when I talk to voters around the country is that 78% of them are living paycheck to paycheck, 57% can't afford an unexpected $500 bill.
I think you're right about that. There's a lot of people who still are vulnerable. They're still feeling insecure. But this has been going on for, what, 20 years? They've had flatlining income for 18 years preceding Trump. Finally, it's going up. But it's back to leadership, though, Andrew, because I think you're someone, I don't maybe agree with you, but you're someone who seems like you want to solve things. You want to solve problems, and I respect that. Forbes says the top 5 cities in the United States with the largest homeless populations are the following. It's not surprising. So New York, L.A., Seattle, San Diego, San Jose. Now, 4 of 5 of these cities are run by Democrats. So how is liberal governance working out for these cities? I mean, my hometown of Hartford, outside of Hartford, Connecticut, but Hartford, Connecticut, it's having real problems, had problems for a long time. Always liberal leadership in Hartford. Detroit, Chicago has big challenges. It's not like these are raging conservative districts of the country, Andrew.
Now, that's one reason why we need to build a trickle-up economy that works for everyone by putting economic resources directly into people's hands. Because we're in the midst of this winner-take-all economy. You can certainly see it in our urban areas where they're rich and poor, living next to each other in very different circumstances. And unfortunately, the dynamics of our economy are just going to become even more extremely polarized as technology starts transforming industries like retail, transportation, food service, and on and on. So we need to wake up to the fact that we're in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in our country's history and start moving in a direction of just putting economic resources directly into our hands because we're the owners and shareholders of this country.
That's the problem. I mean, did anyone give you a handout to start or work at Manhattan Prep? You started that, right? Was that your baby?
Well, that was my baby, and we've all had a hand in different ways.
Yeah, but you did really well. You're a really successful entrepreneur, and you work really hard, and everyone gets help. But did anyone hand you $1,000 to get you going? I mean,
well, a lot of people, including entrepreneurs, have something in the way
of family support. You're a capitalist, in other words. Yeah, you're a successful capitalist, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, You've become a huge success because of the market and because of your hard work and because of your work ethic. All of that together, your family, I imagine. Not everybody has a family who supports them, but that combined to really work for you.
Well, and that's the great thing about putting these economic resources into our hands is it'll give more people an opportunity to start businesses. It would create 2 million new jobs in the economy. It would reward hard work. Because right now, many Americans might have a great idea, but they're stuck with their heads down and they're not able to build around them and build a new business.
I maintain this is the best time in my lifetime to be an American. If you want to work and you want a job, the sky is the limit right now, I think.
Okay, I don't know if you caught the contradiction. You have to honestly watch the clip a couple times before you catch it. But at the beginning, she talks about how, listen, this economy, bro, you're talking to people who are not doing well. I mean, listen, this is a great economy, all right? People are doing great. And then Andrew Yang drops some facts on her ass, and he's like, hey, listen, 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. A preposterously high number of Americans, high percentage of Americans can't afford a $500 emergency. Who are we kidding? the reality is the way we measure the economy is totally off. The idea that you just look at the unemployment rate, or you just look at the official unemployment rate nonetheless, which is total bullshit, or you look at the stock market or GDP growth, it's like, those are like the worst economic indicators for how everybody's doing. So he says that, and then what does she do? She's in a corner. So he's like, no, you're right. So things aren't great, but to be fair, they haven't been great for like a long time. It's not just Trump's fault. And he's like, yeah, that's true. But okay, that's it. Checkmate. He won the argument. Things are great. They're wonderful. He's like, actually, no, they're not. She's like, no, you're right. They're not that great. Then by the end, she comes full circle again. And that's the contradiction. She comes back and she's like, I think that in this economy, if you're not doing it, you can do whatever you want to do in this economy. If you're not making it, that's on you. Were you not just here for like 3 minutes ago when you agreed to the opposite point and Andrew proves you wrong? Where were you for the conversation you were just having? Because he just said 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. That's what he just said. And you were just like, that's okay, right? So, she goes from things are great, okay, things are bad, to seriously though, things are great, right? And then notice, what I love about Yang in this interview is he just keeps saying the same thing. She'll give some bullshit, and then he's like, yeah, anyway, so UBI is great, and let me explain why. And then she'll say something else, and he's like, right, which is why UBI is great. And then she's like, what? Okay. I enjoyed that. Okay, so, but notice, guys, and here's the thing. For the pro-Trump people, they're now in an unwinnable situation. Why do I say that? It's very simple. Donald Trump ran as, the forgotten man will never be forgotten again. I'm going to help out the average Joe and Jane in the middle of the country who are hard workers. And, that's who I'm all about. Make America great again. Fight the outsourcing. Work for the little guy. And then now, he's in office. All of his policies are helping the elites. That's not a question. That's a fact. All of his deregulation of Wall Street out the wazoo, tax cuts that overwhelmingly go to the top 1% in corporations, just all of it. Policy for the rich after policy for the rich. So now, what do? You got to run for re-election. So do you hit him with the, I'm for the little guy, even though I wasn't, but I'm for the little guy again. But hold on, you were just in office for 4 years. You didn't help the little guy? And that's why there's now the debate going on. Trump has even said he doesn't know what he's going to go with. Make America great again for the second term, for the election season, or keep America great again. And what you see is that cognitive dissonance with all the pro-Trump hosts. Because half the time they're like, yeah, the working class. We're for the working class and we're for helping them out. Yeah. That's half the time. And then the other half the time it's like, well, if you're not making it in this economy, it's on you, and you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and the economy's great, and if you're not doing well, it's not the fault of Trump or the government or our policies, it's on you. Which is it? Do you want to help the little guy? Do you want to help the average Joe and Jane? Do you want to look out for them, and are they getting shafted, or are things just great, and if they're not doing well, it's on them? And Laura Ingraham she has that cognitive dissonance now. That's what she has. She doesn't know how to deal with it. She's got to pick one. She doesn't know which one to pick or why or how. Really sad. But that's what you're going to see. They don't know what to do. Should we argue the same thing, pretend like we're for the working class, or should we say the economy's already great, and if you're not doing great, it's on you? And the final thing I want to say real quick, because one of those points really pissed me off. Listen, ultimately, Laura Ingraham has one point that she always comes back to. That point is, Trump good, Republicans good, Democrats bad. That's all she's got. She'll recycle that 930,000 ways, but that's all she has on her show. That's it. That's it. That's all she's got. So what does she do? She cites for Andrew Yang. Hey, Andrew, here's some cities. They're run by Democrats, and they have the highest homelessness population. How's that Democratic leadership going? Wow, Laura, you just logicked him to death. Okay, that's not an argument. Republican states are the poorest. So in other words, the Democratic states are more wealthy. The Republican states are the poorest. Is that it? Is that the end of the conversation? Because that's what Laura Ingraham is trying to do at the city level. Like, oh yeah, the Democratic cities are pretty poor. So? This, again, these aren't arguments. This is partisan got-ya games. What any serious person has to do is they have to dig into the macroeconomic trends, the microeconomic trends, the exact policies that lead to an increase in homelessness. So here's an idea. You do know that if homelessness is a problem, there is a way to fix it, right? Which is give the homeless homes. Now, is that a policy Laura Ingraham supports? No. No, she does not. She would argue against that till the cows come home. But that just shows how disingenuous this whole argument is, as if she cares about the homeless. She doesn't care about the homeless. She found one weird cherry-picked fact where she could try to blame homelessness on Democrats, and so she went with it. More homeless are in the cities. Well, it could maybe be because cities have a larger population, so they're by definition more likely to have more of every kind of person, including homeless people. That could be one. No, it's the Democrats. It's got to be the Democrats. Okay, then how do you respond to the fact that the poorest states are Republican states? Does that make you go, the Republicans are bad? No, it doesn't, because again, but you're a hack. You're just a partisan hack, and there's no talking logically with you. There's none of that. It's always, everything is I'm going to try to revert it to a partisan gotcha game. I don't give a shit about that game. I care about actual solutions. So, an actual solution for homelessness, and by the way, this has been well documented, this has been studied repeatedly. If you just give homeless people small studio apartment, nothing, bare bones, you don't need to go nuts or anything like that, but just give them a roof over their head, you know what happens, right? It saves the taxpayer money. And you literally reduce the homeless population. So you could do that, but again, Laura Ingraham doesn't want to actually fix homelessness. She just wants to use this argument as a cheap partisan point to try to play a got-you game with Andrew Yang to say, aha, Democrats bad. Spare me, Laura, spare me. You're not even mildly entertaining or interesting or accurate. I yawn at your nonsense.